Let's talk about the G word, gentrification. It means different things to different people. The dictionary defines it as the renovation of homes and businesses in deteriorating urban neighborhoods by upper to middle class families.
Right. We are talking about growing gentrification in the nation's capital right now, giving the city a new face and a feel. Young, affluent newcomers swarming into the nation's capital, leaving longtime residents feeling lost in their own neighborhoods. Areas once thought of as having the highest poverty and crime rates have now become real estate gold for developers.
In 2012, 1 in 5 D.C. residents lived below the poverty line. Despite these statistics, the district has seen an influx in young, white-collar professionals. Redevelopment has met the needs of the new wealthier residents rather than the long-time residents, demonstrating the process of gentrification. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines gentrification as the process of renewal and rebuilding accompanying the influx of middle-class or affluent people into deteriorating areas that often displaces poor residents. If gentrification causes widespread displacement, why does the city choose to redevelop?
Yeah, I think it's when you look at DC, Northeast and Southeast DC, the Ballpark, H Street, Shaw, which is Northwest, but Shaw U Street corridor, which have developed over the last 5 to 10 years. Those areas continue to get built with more dense market rate units. They're providing the city more tax revenues. They remain pretty much untouched, and so for those residents, you have not seen the new retailers, you've not seen the new grocers. So without that type of development there, those neighborhoods pretty much remain unchanged, and quite frankly, they're below a level that those residents should have to live with. A common theme with gentrification is densification, meaning that larger projects are being built. So it may be raw land, it may be parking lots today that are turned into multifamily developments tomorrow.
At least from a district's perspective, typically the sites or the development projects that we work with are either vacant properties or vacant land, or underutilized piece of property or underutilized piece of building. And then we work with private sector to kind of have those land developed. So the very first aspect of that is basically getting underutilized asset or land redeveloped, right? So now we are building something on a site which is probably vacant or just underutilized. That's one thing. So you're basically catalyzing development in that part of the area or neighborhood. But over time, but at the same time, if you create job opportunities and as the people's income go up, then they might be able to afford certain kind of housing in the city that they've kind of grown up in. So focus on creating employment and also focus on creating employment which are paying higher per hourly rates or higher income jobs.
Although gentrification is good for the city as a whole, many residents are subsidized housing. Affordable housing is created through programs run by city and federal governments. The district's inclusionary zoning program requires 8 to 10% of the residential floor area to be set aside for affordable units. The affordability of this housing is determined by the area median income.
There's a test called AMI, which is area median income. What they do is they take the income from not only DC but the surrounding suburbs, and then they basically calculate what the middle income is, the median, and then that becomes the baseline.
Almost all the projects that we work on, district works on, we require that there is a affordable housing set aside. Under the current law, the requirement is 30% affordable housing set aside for the land disposition.
Despite the city having one of the highest poverty rates, the D.C. metropolitan area is the wealthiest in the nation. Fairfax, Loudoun, Howard, Falls Church, Montgomery, and Prince William counties all rank within the top 13 wealthiest counties in the country, making the area median income nearly $110,000 a year. But within the city itself, the median income is about $75,000, and for black families it is less than $40,000 a year. The pay disparity between the residents of D.C. and its suburbs raises the area median income used to determine the price of affordable housing, making its costs rise.
I'd say the biggest programs are federal government backed, and that would be Section 8 and LIHTC. LIHTC stands for Low Income Housing Tax Credits. For developers in LIHTC programs, they can develop and then the projects generally have to stay low income for 15 years. And then Section 8 is essentially a voucher program. The federal government will essentially pay a portion of the rent to the developer, and the resident will pay the balance of the rent to the developer, and so it's subsidized housing.
Though gentrification is often hailed a much-needed revitalization of lower-income neighborhoods, many criticisms have been raised.
So, for example, crime, actually may go up. Is it because new people are reporting people? So, or is it opportunity? Well, now you've got higher income people in the neighborhood, so property crime and these sorts of things, or animosity. So crime can actually go up, at least in the short term. You lose your dollar of general, but you get a, the proverbial artisanal coffee shop. More money brings retail, more money brings home improvement.
Because you're going to have dust, you're going to basically have some noise as a result of the construction that needs to be managed. The other one is basically traffic and congestion that sometimes happens with projects, and that depends on the scale. If the scale of the project is big, then the traffic congestion can be something very difficult to manage.
Crime rates and concerns about losing the culture of a region are certainly important concerns, but the largest problem long-term residents face is the threat of displacement.
And displacement is also a more sort of firm word than gentrification, but it's also often hard to measure. So displacement means that someone is actually no longer able to live in the neighborhood and moves out, or it can mean that when someone moves out of a neighborhood, the person that replaces them is of a different income level at a minimum, and potentially race or ethnicity, and so on. If someone finds they can no longer afford the rent, can no longer afford their taxes on their home, or the cost of maintaining their home in a way that sort of the city now requires them to maintain it in a better neighborhood, then they can be directly displaced. Investments means your taxes go up. So in the short run, it means that whether you're operating a rental property or you're a homeowner, the city says you owe more money because your house is worth more money. So that means that your options then are just simply to pay more money, and then if you're renting it out, it means you may ask for more money from renters in order to cover that increased cost. No renters pay property taxes, they just do it through their owners who collect rents. So it has a similar effect on both groups. If the rent and or the property tax gets too high, then the residents may feel they have to move.
Displacement is caused in part by an influx of new younger residents, so what can they do to help older residents at risk?
Become a member. When you become a member, you'll have access. Well, you can get on our mailing list without becoming a member also. And come to our monthly People's Platform. We do political education. We have reading groups. We have what we call freedom schools in the summer. That's, when I got involved because of my students moving and someone told me about one DC, I came and right away there was a freedom school about gentrification. It was a 3-series, and so I could come and learn. And then once you're involved, you can support the tenants and the campaigns, in several ways. Like we have a deep relationship with Surge, Showing Up for Racial Justice, which is another great, organization in the city, and they have basically teams that work with One DC, so they provide all sorts of things for our actions, for tenants, for zoning commission hearings. So there's a lot of ways to plug in.
Help with transportation, right? There's all this work that goes into organizing.
Despite the appealing benefits to redevelopment, the displacement of poorer residents plays a direct impact on keeping them in poverty. Though the issue cannot be fixed by waving a magic wand, the cause is not hopeless. The best way to help those facing displacement is to try to create well-paying jobs, access to quality education, and the necessary resources to help break the cycle of poverty.